The world order that shaped the last 80 years is ending. Since 1945, one country, the United States, has sat alone at the top of the global hierarchy. The largest economy, the strongest military, the reserve currency of the world. But the National Intelligence Council, the body that advises the President of the United States on global threats, issued a warning. By 2030, the U.S. will no longer be alone at the top. In areas of GDP, population, military spending, and technological investment, Asia will surpass North America and Europe combined. 5 countries are already making their move. This is the countdown. Welcome to Fresh Top 5. We're ranking these 5 countries by a combination of projected GDP growth by 2030, military modernization, geopolitical ambition, technological investment, and demographic advantage. These are not just economies rising, these are civilizations reasserting themselves on the world stage after decades of waiting. Coming in at number 5, Saudi Arabia. For most of the 20th century, Saudi Arabia's power came from one source, oil. But by the 2020s, its leadership recognized that oil alone would not sustain a superpower in a world moving toward clean energy. So they launched Vision 2030, arguably the most ambitious national transformation plan in modern history. The goal, to build the world's most advanced economy from scratch in a single decade in the middle of the Arabian desert. NEOM, the $500 billion futuristic megacity being constructed in the Saudi desert, is the most visible symbol of this ambition. It is not just a city. It is a statement that Saudi Arabia intends to compete with Singapore, Dubai, and New York as a global hub for technology, finance, and innovation. Saudi Aramco, the world's most profitable company, is funding a sovereign wealth fund, the Public Investment Fund, with over $700 billion under management, investing globally in technology, sport, entertainment, and infrastructure. But Saudi Arabia's rising power is not just economic. Its decision to pivot away from exclusive alignment with the United States, normalizing relations with China, brokering peace deals between Israel and Hamas, bidding for and winning the 2034 World Cup, and hosting the 2030 World Expo, signals a country that is writing its own rules. By 2030, its GDP is projected to reach $3.17 trillion. The transformation of this kingdom from oil exporter to global power broker may be the most underestimated geopolitical story of the decade. Number 4, Indonesia. The world's largest archipelago nation, 17,000 islands, 280 million people by 2030, the 4th most populous country on Earth and one of the most profoundly underrated economic stories of the next decade. Standard Chartered projects Indonesia will be the world's 5th largest economy by 2030, with a GDP of $5.4 trillion. That would make it larger than Japan. And Indonesia's secret weapon is not just its size, it is what lies beneath its soil. Indonesia holds the world's largest reserves of nickel, the critical mineral inside every electric vehicle battery on Earth. As the global clean energy transition accelerates, every car manufacturer from Tesla to BYD to Volkswagen needs what Indonesia has. The country has banned raw nickel exports, forcing global companies to build processing factories on Indonesian soil, a masterstroke of economic strategy that is rapidly industrializing the nation and creating hundreds of thousands of skilled jobs. Indonesia is also building a brand new capital city from scratch, Nusantara, to rebalance the economy away from the congested island of Java. Its digital economy is the fastest growing in Southeast Asia, home to 4 unicorn tech companies. And with a young workforce, the median age is just 30, Indonesia has the demographic engine to sustain decades of growth. The sleeping giant of Southeast Asia is waking up, and by 2030, the world will not be able to look away. Number 3, Turkey. Here is a country that has made itself indispensable to everyone simultaneously. Turkey is a NATO member. It buys Russian air defense systems. It brokers grain deals between Ukraine and Russia.
It sells armed drones to Ukraine while maintaining relations with Moscow. It mediates between Israel and Hamas. It controls the only naval access point between the Black Sea and the Mediterranean. No other country on Earth occupies such a uniquely leveraged geopolitical position, and Turkey's leadership is using that leverage with extraordinary strategic skill. Turkey's military transformation in the last decade has shocked the world. The Bayraktar TB2 drone, designed and manufactured in Turkey, changed the nature of modern warfare. It proved decisive in conflicts in Libya, Azerbaijan, Ukraine, and Ethiopia. Turkey now exports armed drones to over 30 countries. Its domestic defense industry has grown from producing 20% of its own military equipment in 2002 to over 80% today, a level of self-sufficiency that only the largest military powers can claim. Economically, Turkey's GDP is projected to reach approximately $3 trillion by 2030. It is already the largest economy in the Middle East and a G20 member. Its young population of 85 million people, with a median age of just 32, gives it a demographic advantage that most of Western Europe no longer has. Istanbul is already the 15th largest urban economy on Earth and growing fast. By 2030, Turkey will not be on the fringes of global power. It will be at the table on its own terms.
Number 2. India. The world's largest democracy, the world's most populous nation, and the world's fastest-growing major economy. The numbers are extraordinary. India's GDP grew by 8.2% in 2024. By 2030, S&P Global, the IMF, and the World Bank all project India will be the world's third largest economy, with a GDP of $7.3 trillion. That means India will have overtaken Germany and Japan. Within a single generation, India will have completed one of the most rapid economic ascents in human history. India's greatest advantage is one no other major economy possesses in 2025: demographics. By 2030, India will have the world's largest working-age population. China is aging, Europe is shrinking, Japan has been in demographic decline for decades. But India has a workforce of hundreds of millions of young, increasingly educated, increasingly skilled workers entering its economy every year. UPI, India's digital payment system, now processes more transactions per day than Visa and MasterCard combined. India did not just join the digital revolution, it built infrastructure that is now being adopted by other governments worldwide. On the military front, India ranks 4th globally by the Global Firepower Index 2025. It has nuclear weapons. It is building its first domestically manufactured aircraft carrier. Its space agency, ISRO, has successfully landed on the Moon's south pole, a feat that neither the United States nor China had achieved. And India is the anchor of the Quad Alliance, alongside the US, Japan, and Australia, the most significant geopolitical partnership to emerge in the Indo-Pacific in decades. India is not a future superpower. India is a superpower in the making. And the making is happening right now. And the number 1 country taking over the world by 2030, China. By 2030, multiple major projections, Standard Chartered, the World Economic Forum, and China's own economic models forecast China's GDP will reach $38 trillion. That would make China the largest economy on Earth, overtaking the United States, which is positioned as the world's dominant economic power since the 1890s. That is not just a statistic. That is a civilizational shift of historical proportions. China's Belt and Road Initiative has invested in infrastructure across over 140 countries: ports, railways, highways, power stations. Critics call it debt diplomacy. Supporters call it the most ambitious global development program in history. Either way, the result is the same. China now has deep economic relationships and leverage in more countries than any other nation on Earth, including the United States. When China controls the port, it influences the trade.
When China finances the power station, it influences the politics. In the technologies that will define the 21st century, China is not just competing, it is leading. China manufactures over 75% of the world's solar panels. It produces over 60% of the world's electric vehicles. Its semiconductor ambitions, though challenged by U.S. export restrictions, are accelerating rapidly. The PLA, China's military, is on a declared trajectory to be fully modernized by 2035 and a world-class global military force by 2049. China already has a navy that rivals the U.S. in total ship numbers. It has hypersonic missiles that no Western defense system can currently intercept. And in space, China has landed on the far side of the moon, brought back lunar samples, and is building its own space station. It has a declared goal of landing astronauts on the moon before 2030. The last time a new power challenged the United States for global dominance, it sparked 40 years of Cold War. What is happening now is not a Cold War. It is something more complex, more economically entangled, and potentially more consequential. China is not just taking over by 2030. In many critical areas, it is already there. China, India, Turkey, Indonesia, Saudi Arabia. 5 countries, 5 different strategies, 5 different timelines, but one shared destination, a seat at the top table of global power. The world order of the next 30 years is being built right now, in desert construction sites, in AI research labs, in naval shipyards, and in mineral mines. The only question is whether the existing powers are paying attention. Drop a comment, which country on this list do you think will surprise the world the most? And subscribe to Fresh Top 5, new Top 5 every week.